that was my first publicity. And I just realized, hey, I think I've got something here. And then things happened fairly quickly after that, like Robert Schimmel and then Russell Peters and so forth.
Welcome to Fry Your Chickens, the podcast about facing fears, negativities, and self-doubts that can hold us back. Or as I like to call them, chickens. Get ready because it's time to tell those chickens that are holding you back to shut the cluck up. We will learn how real people did exactly that. I'm your host, Phil Barth. Let's get ready to fry. Dan, I'm so excited about this. You're one of the funniest people I know, and I just enjoy talking to people with great senses of humor. So welcome to Fry Your Chickens.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here, and I understand it's one of your inaugural episodes, and it's great to be asked to be with you on this journey. And thank you so much, and very much looking forward. Appreciate it.
I've always enjoyed your comedy and what you've done, but I also know that you started in a successful tech career at Intel. So what was it like, the decision process to go from a very successful tech career to pursuing your dream of stand-up comedy?
Well, my job involved being on stage with the executives of Intel, and it was amazing, traveling all over the world and demonstrating the latest technology. And I would design the demos in the lab and then ship them and then fly. And I'd be on stage with the CEO sometimes, and chairman of the board, et cetera. And that was amazing. And that part I could do. But the tough part was speaking on stage in front of hundreds of people, sometimes thousands. Sometimes the events would be televised. I was terrified of the public speaking part. So I thought, I've got to do something. They gave us some speaker training, but that just wasn't, I guess it doesn't really simulate what it's like when you're in front of an audience. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do something totally out of the box and take a stand-up comedy class, which was being offered up in San Francisco, about 45-mile drive from where I was. And that comedy class literally changed my life because I got up there. And of course, when you take a comedy class, the final exam, if you will, is a show at an actual club where your friends and relatives are invited. And I just had the most amazing set. And fortunately, I got the video, showed it to my Intel coworkers. They asked me to perform at an event at Las Vegas, Comdex, actually. Someone saw me at that event for about 250 employees, asked me to perform at the annual sales conference for 2,500 Intel employees. And that was an amazing, amazing experience, and we can get into that. So that gave me the confidence that maybe I could do this for a living. And I was pretending to be a comedian on stage at that event when I was really an Intel demo guy. And everyone thought that I was a comedian pretending to be an Intel demo guy when the reverse was true. So that was how I got started.
So when did you know you were on to something with the comedy?
I think it was right after that show when people came up and said, "Now you're not really a demo guy. You're a professional comedian. You've been hired." I said, "No, I'm really an Intel guy." And then started to do shows around the Bay Area, little shows here and there. You know, we all start small when we're doing comedy, and they just went really well. And one of my first shows was interviewed by a reporter for the Palo Alto Weekly. It was Sweetheart, and that was my first publicity. And I just realized, hey, I think I've got something here. And then things happened fairly quickly after that, like Robert Schimmel and then Russell Peters and so forth.
Tell me the Robert Schimmel story. This is a great one.
Well, so there was an open mic competition in Washington, and it's different from your typical open mic because it's not all comedians, which most open mics are, but this is an actual show, packed house with audience members, what we call civilians. And there were 6 or 7 comedians, and I couldn't believe it, but I won that competition. And that gave me the right to open for the headliner of my choice. And I chose Robert Schimmel. And that was really, I think that was 6 or 7 months after the competition. That was really only I think the only comedian who was available. And so got to open for him for the whole weekend. And that was quite an experience to see someone who's a true master at the craft. Just watching him, it was mind blowing how funny, and I mean he's filthy, but also just really intelligent, well thought out jokes. The guy was a genius.
Now, was that in Hawaii or was that later when you?
No, 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 no. So I was talking to his feature, and I saw that Robert had some shows coming up in Honolulu, and I said to his feature, "Are you going to Hawaii?" And he said he couldn't afford the ticket. I said, "Wow, do you mind if I ask Robert if I could maybe do those shows, because I'm going to be in Hawaii," which wasn't true, by the way. I was totally making that up. And Robert said, "Well, if it's all right with the producers, it's fine with me." And so I found a DJ, or I knew a DJ in Hawaii who it turned out was going to be on the show. Paul Ogata was a DJ I'd done some shows with, and I called him and said, "Hey, is there any way you could get me? You could ask them if I could do this show at the Pipeline Cafe." And he said, "Sure." And he found out, and I was allowed to open. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That is so cool. I mean, ultimately, you were in Hawaii. You were just telling the truth in advance. Yeah.
Right, right. But I mean, I was making it seem as if I was going to be there anyway. Well, since I'm going to be there, maybe I could. No, no. I flew there specifically to do those shows with Robert.
And and clearly it worked out.
100%. In fact, we went to dinner, and I met his wife and his new baby, and Sam, and that was amazing. And he watched me the second night. He hadn't seen me the first night, but the second night he watched me, and he was like, "That was great." And then next thing you know, he says, "Hey, I'd like you to go on the road with me as my feature," and that was mind blowing. Now, I had told a friend of mine before the DC shows, my goal is to be his feature eventually. And then my friend was like, "Yeah, right, whatever." But it actually came true.
Wow. That is really cool. I knew part of that story. I didn't know the whole thing. So that's awesome. All right, and then you also worked with Russell Peters. Tell me about that experience.
Well, this was the beginning of a phenomenon that started, and this is before YouTube. People think he was made because of YouTube, but what happens before YouTube, there was somebody who encoded one of his shows on TV into a file and sent that around. Now, bear in mind, Indians love sending things to other Indians, and they're also ahead of the curve technologically. So this video went around the country, around the world, and Russell started coming to America. There was a producer who had him at the New York Improv. It's now called the Broadway Comedy Club, but at the time it was the New York Improv, and Russell was performing there, like 4 packed shows, people around the block. And I decided I wanted to go and see that. But unfortunately, I got there right, literally, he must have literally just gotten off a stage, because the crowd was still there and you could tell something amazing had happened. And someone from the club comes up and says, "Hey, this crowd doesn't want to leave. Do you have any other comedians?" And I said, "Hey, I'm one, and I'm an Indian comedian." I go up, did about 10 minutes. I didn't think I did that great, but Russell saw me and he said, "Hey, that was great." And next thing you know, when I heard he was coming to America to do a bunch of theater shows, I said, "Hey, do you think I could get on one of those 2 shows to open?" And he said, "I'll tell my manager to put you on every show." I couldn't believe it.
Wow. That's very generous of him.
It was. And at the same time, it was also a great fit, because I would warm the crowd up for him, and material's totally opposite, because I'm doing totally clean. And he is, let's just say, not clean. And he also talks to the crowd a lot, and I don't talk to the crowd. So it was 2 very contrasting styles. So it worked out really well. And then I ended up producing some of his shows as well in New York and LA.
How did you come to the idea of I'm going to be a 100% clean comedian?
I think that that's what I write mostly. And occasionally I'll think of a dirty joke or two. And well, some of them are really offensive and I can't say them pretty much anywhere, but I give them to my other comedian friends. I think it's because my parents would just be mortified if they saw me doing dirty material on stage. So I think that was sort of the impetus. Plus, I found quickly that it really works in terms of getting more shows, charity galas, cruise ships, casinos, senior events, private parties, corporate events. These are things where they just cannot have a dirty comedian. So, as a dear friend of mine who's a comedian and a cop in, I think, Ohio, he says, clean leads to green. And he's totally right.
For, I think a lot of people know you, but you are half Indian, half Japanese. So how did that background influence your material?
I'll tell you, it's a lot of material that writes itself. And I remember taking that very first class in San Francisco with Judy Carter. And I said, do you think this is going to be a disadvantage going forward? She goes, oh, no, this is going to be your greatest advantage. And she was very perspicacious impression in a number of ways. I also said, she said, when you do clubs, I mean, you're lucky to get a free water, right? And $20. And when you do a corporate event, you could get 10, 15, $20,000. You'll fly first class, you'll stay in a beautiful hotel, all your meals are paid for. And I was like, I don't know about this, sounds far-fetched, but she was totally right.
Love it. And and I do remember one of your jokes that, hey, are you the only half Indian, half Japanese person? He said, no, there's at least one other, your sister.
Right. I mean, it's such a simple joke, but it for some reason it gets this huge laugh. And as you know, the key is trimming your set down so that you only have jokes that you know people laugh at every time. And that's our ultimate objective. And when you can get that to that, then it's just like floating. It's wonderful.
Well, and it's simple, but I don't know how long ago it was that I heard that joke, and I still remember it.
I do some jokes in Florida, and I love doing this joke. There's okay in South Beach. I guess the posh area is south. It's called South of Fifth Street at the southern end of South Beach, right? So if you're south of Fifth, that's a nice area. So I met some guy and I was talking to him, and I said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "Oh, South Beach." And I said, "Oh, do you live south of Sixth?" And he said, "No, I live south of Fifth." And I said, "Yeah, but that means you also live south of Sixth." For some reason, everybody there just thinks that's so hilarious, and it's such a simple joke, right? So you never know.
That's good. There's another one you have that you tell people you're half Indian and half Japanese, and they say, so you're half Asian.
Oh yeah, I know. This is people don't understand. I've even seen castings, right? Looking for Asian or Indian. I'm like, well, India's in Asia. Hello, right? It's so funny.
Have you not seen the map?
That's right. I know exactly. Let's see. India, Asia. Yeah.
And the other thing I will say about the all clean humor was when we first met, my kids were fairly young. And I had no problem with showing them your YouTube videos and your videos because, and they loved it.
Exactly. This is the kind of thing they can play for kids. I can do shows and there'll be grandparents there and parents and young people and no one's going to be like, oh no, no, I hope that I hope he doesn't talk about I mean it's all ages for yeah. I've been to shows where one show where there was like a baby laughing at everything and there's no way the child could have understood what I was saying, but it was just because everyone else was laughing. The baby was laughing as well. It's so great. It was the
That's
greatest
awesome.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. And just when I thought my kids couldn't be bigger fans, then they found out you played, I think, Jeb Bush on Family Guy, right?
No, I wasn't Jeb Bush, but I was on the road to India. In fact, I have a couple of checks here that that I haven't even cashed yet from 20th Century Fox for that episode. And let's see, one now these are huge checks. This one is for $2.90. This is a big one, $41.52. Couple royalty checks for that episode, and I got frame it, and I have it in my drawer, 8 cents, a royalty check for Family Guy. And I guess it must have been what, 85, and they took off the postage. But I mean, of course, they're bigger checks, but and they all add up. But oh yeah, that was quite an experience.
Yeah. Okay. I got my wires crossed there, but yeah, when they found out you were on Family Guy, big Family Guy fans, they're like, "Holy!"
I do get a lot of credit with people's kids, yeah, because of that.
So you have performed for a lot of famous people. One of them, Barack Obama. Tell me about that one.
Well, that was at an Asian event in Washington at the Hilton, and that was amazing because actually I was sitting next to some lady, and I had no idea who she was. And then immediately after dinner, all these people started coming up and asking for pictures and autographs, and it was Grace Park from Battlestar Galactica and Hawaii Five O. And not being a TV person, I had no idea. She was really sweet. Her husband was wonderful as well. So yeah, and he was Obama was just wonderful. And you've seen the testimonial where he says, Dad is hilarious," and that was quite a moment, quite a moment.
Dan, one of the things I'm really impressed about is how much you get done in a small amount of time. I can see you got your keyboards back there, your guitars. I know you do a lot with music. You do your comedy. You do all kinds of things. What is your secret for getting a lot done in a finite amount of time?
I think it's expanding the amount of time I have. I think it's really important. And I meet a lot of young people who say, well, my parents want me to have a job as an engineer or IT or doctor or whatever, but I really want to be a movie director. I really want to be a comedian or an actor or a singer. And I tell them, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. It doesn't have to be either or, but both and, right? And here's where you can find the time is most people, the average American is watching like 35 to 40 hours of television a week, okay? And the average person, especially young people, say, well, it's Friday night. Everyone's going out and getting drunk. I got to go out and get drunk. And then they do the same thing, rinse and repeat on Saturday night. And so basically you have all that time, like what, 8 until 2 in the morning, 2 nights. And then, of course, you're hungover, so you really can't do anything Saturday and Sunday during the day. So if you add up all that time, 35 to 40 hours a week of television, and then all that time going out and drinking and recovering, it could be like 60, 70, 80 hours. So it's during those hours where I'm learning languages or playing 6 musical instruments or writing jokes, or I'm managing a musical act, a new musical act right now who are absolutely fantastic. I think I have one of their cards here, and this is them. It's two young ladies who are half Indian, phenomenal singers, doing investments and all the other. And also I'm also an agent now, doing casting for TV and film and commercials and voiceover. Um, it just I wouldn't be able to do that if I was sitting and watching 40 hours of TV a week and going out and getting drunk on weekends. There's a great saying in one of my favorite books called 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself by Stephen Chandler, who actually came to one of my shows after I contacted him. It was very nice. And one of the things he said is when you're watching television, you're watching other people do what they love doing and making millions of dollars. And which side of the glass do you want to be on? The side where the people are living their dreams, or the side where people are watching them? So I want to be on the other side of the glass.
Absolutely. I I advise my kids and others to take a look on your settings. How much time did you spend on the phone? It'll tell you.
Oh,
It'll
absolutely.
how much
Yeah.
time did you spend on the phone doom scrolling?
Right. The other thing you can do also is, especially in a place like New York, there's a lot of in between time, a lot of walking to things, a lot of being on the subway. And so it's possible to also fill every moment of that time. Like if I'm at the gym, I mean, my mind just, or what's left of my mind, used to go crazy just with nothing to do. But now, every time I'm at the gym, I'm listening to the New York Times, listening to podcasts, books on tapes, languages, same thing, going to the airport, waiting, on the plane, on the subway, walking, whatever, just having something productive to listen to on my phone or whatever. And if you looked at my phone time, you'd probably see there's a ton of time, but the large majority is doing something productive.
It also tells you by app what you're doing. So if podcasts are taking 80%, you're probably all right. If the latest farm game or whatever is taking 80%, you probably need to change something.
Exactly. I mean, I'm on YouTube a lot, but it's usually learning how to play a song or something. Like I'm trying to learn how to play a Coldplay song now, Sky Full of Stars, on guitar and keyboards. So
Sorry, you said Coldplay, and you know where my mind went.
yeah, I have a funny clip on my Instagram where I was doing a song in karaoke, and then I said, "Hey, now it's time for the kiss cam," and these two guys did this. Oh, like just they acted it out. It was hilarious.
I did one where I had AI create a picture of me holding a rubber chicken and giving it a hug.
Nice.
Plays in the background. And so then I had to issue an apology that I will go back to frying chickens. It was a moment of weakness, et cetera, et cetera.
That's great. That's great. You can do a lot of stuff with AI. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I've found is using AI correctly. I have been able to offload a lot of things that would have taken me a ton of time and focus my efforts elsewhere and let it do basically the grunt work.
It's amazing. I get a lot of people who send me things like, for example, a movie script, and I don't want to read a 120-page movie script, so I can just have it summarized and then a podcast created to tell me what the script is about in about 10 minutes. I have a plugin that'll speed up YouTube to up to 15x speed. So if someone sends me, say, like a 1-hour video, I can watch it in 4 minutes and be honest and say, yes, I did watch the whole thing. Or if it's, say, like it's a walking tour of, I don't know, the Tenerife or something, I can go through it super fast until I get to the part I want, which is the beach part. Gemini will also, if someone sends me like a 90-minute nut job conspiracy theory video, Gemini will summarize it and show me the end points and the major points and what timestamp. So there's so many ways to save time with AI now. It's incredible.
Yeah, I like Gemini. I like Notebook LM.
Yeah, Notebook LM is amazing.
I fed it one of my long podcasts and had it do a podcast about my podcast.
So it summarized it in 10 minutes. Do you know about that feature where you can actually stop it and interrupt it and ask it a question? Have you done that?
Yes.
Oh, our listener has a question. Yes. How can we help you? It's amazing. And what's funny is it answers your question, then it slowly kind of goes back to its original train of thought, right? It's amazing stuff. Amazing.
Huge fan of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's free.
All right. So here's a question I've asked all my podcast guests because it's so off the wall. I just love the discussion it creates. Would you rather fight one horse-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized horses?
Oh boy. Well, let's see. A horse-sized chicken would be deadly because of the beak, and I mean, even if you fought 100 regular chickens, they could peck you to death. So a horse-sized chicken, my goodness, would probably be able to kill you instantly. Whereas chicken-sized horses, I don't really see it too much of a threat from them. If they're like, I don't know, 1.5 feet tall, you'd be able to probably kick them out of the way. So I would go with the 100 horse-sized chicken-sized horses. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. There's been a lot of back and forth on that. I actually fed that question to AI. Very thorough analysis was provided. I said, now answer it as if you're different people. And one of them was, I said, answer it as if you're Douglas Adams. And all the models except for Grok said, I said, what would be a fair fight? One horse-sized chicken versus how many chicken-sized horses? Now answer it as if you're Douglas Adams. And all the models except for one said 42. Well, Gemini said 42.
Right.
And then Grok did this like really thorough analysis, came up with 15. I'm like, did you not ever hear? I mean, you're AI. Have you not heard of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe?
Right. Of course. You mean to the galaxy? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not even going to clean that up because I screwed it up and it's my
Oh,
fault.
okay. Okay.
If my guest messes it up, I may go back. But yes, it was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
All right, right.
And today it's Hitchhiker's Guide to doing a podcast when you've taken a little bit of cold medicine. All right, keeping it real.
Hope you feel better.
Oh, I'm doing all right.
Okay.
It's better
You
when
sound fine.
it's better when I've got somebody I can sit and laugh with.
Okay.
All right, the next piece is 3 random questions. It's a little game we play. You can
Okay.
either answer the question or send it back to me. I have not seen the questions to keep it fair. When I say go, ChatGPT will generate 3 random questions for my podcast with Dan Nainan, and we'll ask him. You either get to play or pass.
Okay.
Okay.
You're laughing.
I'm laughing. If you could only eat either sushi or curry for the rest of your life, which one's getting the call?
Got to be sushi because curry is simply a seasoning, a powder. So, I mean, if you could only eat curry, you'd probably die of, I don't know, poisoning. But so obviously it had to be sushi. That's a great question.
It all credit goes to ChatGPT.
Uh-huh.
I heard that you get your sushi at 7-Eleven.
Right. And, a lot of people don't know that 7-Eleven is a Japanese company. It's owned by a Japanese company now.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right, which would be harder? Telling a completely silent audience a joke or telling your parents you wanted to be a comedian?
Well, I've worked with a completely silent audience at the times I've had a Japanese audience because it's interesting that they don't laugh, but they give you like a huge ovation at the end. So when I told my parents I want to be a comedian, they were fine with it. So I think it would have to be B.
Okay. All right. If you were if you were a new flavor of potato chip, what would your flavor be called and why? I'm reading it just as written.
I guess I would be, well, I would say curry and sushi. Right?
Absolutely.
Something Japanese, something Indian.
I love it. I love it. And thank you for not passing any of those to me. Although the completely silent audience would be mine too. It's like, yeah.
Well, there are times when, when you've done over 1,000 shows all over the world that you'll occasionally get an audience where you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening here? And fortunately, it's very rare, but it's the worst feeling. It's like, that's when you're like, oh my goodness, maybe I should get a job.
Is that when the chickens are going off in your head?
Yeah, that's like, again, it doesn't happen often, but I, I remember doing a show in Dubai at the Emirates Golf Club for a tire company, and it went so well that they had me do their office in Manchester. I'm sorry, no, Birmingham, England. And I got up there, and if you're bombing, sometimes it's because people are talking or there's buzzing because they're serving dinner or something's, there's no seating, everyone's standing. So there's usually a reason why you're not doing well. But in this case, everybody was seated, everyone was listening to me. There was no distraction. Nobody was eating. So there was no excuse. I I just absolutely bombed. I mean, nobody was laughing at anything. In fact, the whole rest of my set, I just made it all about why I was bombing. Right? That's what got laughs. So it was horrible, horrible.
But that's a good pivot. Yeah.
Right, right. But I mean, hopefully it shouldn't happen that way. But I've only had that particular situation where everyone was at attention and no one laughed only one time, thank goodness.
It somehow makes me feel better to know that somebody who's done 1,000 shows around the world still has that happen every once in a while, because I had it happen. Get on stage, and frequently it's like first thing in the morning, you're the opening keynote on day 2 and people are tired and you're just like, what? Come on. And you got these things in your ears going, you're bombing. And you just got to work through it.
Well, a lot of times these people have been out partying all night, right? They're at a convention or whatever, and they're on the road. Everyone's drinking, and oh, I've got an 8 a.m. meeting. Oh no, right? So it's not you necessarily. So I just have to just dust yourself off and do the next one.
Well, I mean, if you've had that happen once in 1,000, you're probably hitting pretty good.
Well, no, I've definitely bombed, but that particular situation where everybody was listening and there was no distraction and I bombed, that fortunately has only happened once. So
All right. Now tell me, because you and I have something in common. At one point in my life, I had a cat that would play fetch, and you've got a cat that plays fetch. Tell me about the cat that plays fetch.
he's really something. His name is Inu, which means dog in Japanese, which happens to be my first language. And he, maybe I can send you some videos of this, but he sits on command, which is amazing. I taught him to do that. The fetching I didn't teach him, but I can throw a ball or a stuffed animal, and I have tons of video. And he will repeatedly bring it back and drop it at my feet, and I throw it again. He's really something else. He knows a lot of commands. Like when it's time to be brushed, I say brushy, brushy, and he comes slowly walking. If I say, you don't want wet food, oh my goodness, he'll come from anywhere in the house, like up the steps, like at 30 miles an hour. He is really smart. He's a chocolate point Balinese, and I better stop talking about it because I could go on forever about him.
Well, definitely put some videos in the show links. We'll have videos to the cat because
Yeah, that's a. I'll send you some videos, but that's a little picture of him on the steps. Yeah, he's so cute. He's really sweet. Yeah, he's something, and he's non-allergenic. This breed is known for being hypoallergenic, so people come over who desperately allergic to cats, no problem with him.
I have to look into that because our youngest, Tom, who you met, is allergic to cats. So that might be a
Yeah,
one in the house.
there's a few breeds, yeah, and the Balinese is a great one for
Well, if I
that.
could teach him to fetch, that'd be a huge bonus.
Yeah, well, I didn't teach him. He knew that innately. I mean, I had to teach him to sit, but he knew to fetch innately on his own without any training.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hi, little guy. Hi.
Oh,
So here he is. Uh, he's about 2.5 years old now, and this is him, and he's so cute. He's got the most beautiful blue eyes,
oh,
and yeah, he's really a special cat,
how you
and
doing?
Inu, which means dog, as I mentioned in Japanese. So yeah, see, hey, it's Phil. Can you see Phil? If you wave a little, yeah, you see Phil? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'll put him down. He was taking a nap. So yeah, he's really special, really sweet cat.
Love it. I love it. You've seen on social media, we have a couple of dogs. We've had
Right.
cats in the past. Big pet fan.
I wish I could have dogs. Just too much travel, but he can come on the plane too. He's great. Travel with him in a
Oh,
little backpack. Yeah, it's so cute.
awesome.
Bring it back. Good. Drop it. You'll drop it. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Drop it. Drop it. Why here? Why not where I can reach it, pal?
All right, so tell me about any upcoming projects you have right now. What's next?
Well, one that I just finished is I've got this book, Accidentally Funny, which people can order at comedybook.net. And this is my crazy story about going from an Intel engineer to a comedian. I also, as I mentioned earlier, I have these two twins who are phenomenal singers who I'm managing and trying to get them signed to a record label. And I also am a casting agent for agency. I can send you the link. If
Please.
anyone out there is interested, we're nationwide, New York, LA, South Florida, and the Southeast. Television, shows like, say, FBI, etc., commercials, voiceover, and print modeling. A lot of like Microsoft or pharmaceuticals or whatever. And I also have the book I mentioned and trying to get that made in an audio book, actually, and have a podcast of my own coming out with a very well-known Bollywood celebrity. And we're going to get that launched here in about a month or two.
Fantastic.
Much better known than I am. So He wants out. Okay, bye, bye, little buddy. He wants out. Okay, so
I got to go back and finish my nap, Dad. Come on. Obviously, over the course of your career, you have fried a lot of chickens. I mean, you went from an employee at Intel who had issues trying to communicate effectively to now someone who communicates and is a stand-up comedian for a living and made a great career out of it. What words of wisdom do you have for somebody who's facing any kind of fears or self-doubts as they contemplate maybe making a big move?
I would say that it's really important to, well, obviously believe in yourself, but sometimes you can get wrong advice from people. Like a lot of people say, well, you can't do that. You can't leave your job. You're going to have a big hole in your resume and this, that, and the other. And remember that a lot of people are afraid of doing something. And by discouraging you from doing something risky, what they're doing is validating their decision not to do that. So you kind of have to understand what people's motivations are, right? And sometimes it's best not to listen to other people. And if you really believe in something, I mean, there's so many stories like Kentucky Fried Chicken or say Tim Ferriss and the 4 Hour Work Week. And in fact, at that Toastmasters convention, you may recall that Robin Sharma, the author, was there, and he was he had a corporate job. I can't remember what, maybe a lawyer or finance or something. And he wrote a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And he was trying everything he could to sell it. And he had a mentor who was a very famous author who told him this book is no good. And he went to a convention, like a book convention, and he had a mock-up of the book around his neck, like a photograph around his neck, and people were laughing at him. And nobody wanted this book, and he finally self-published it. And it was in like a local bookstore, and he happened to be there because his son wanted to go to some store nearby. So he stopped in to see how his books were doing. He starts talking to an older gentleman who turned out to be the president of Simon and Schuster. And that's when he signed Robin. And that book and his other books have sold something like 50 million around the world in different languages. And if you remember, he was speaking, he got the Golden Gavel Award. And I asked him if I could take him to lunch because I was going to be in Toronto, and he said yes. So that's a perfect example. Many, many people have faced adversity and people saying you're no good, and yet they made it massive, gigantic. I've only made it medium, but some people make it just gigantically big, and so it's because I think maybe they didn't listen to everyone who told them they were no good.
That's great. Where can we find you online?
I'm at Comedian Dan on everything, comediandan.com, Comedian Dan on YouTube and Instagram. And again, my book is available at comedybook.net. And that is that's the other thing. There's a lot of comedians who say that it's really kind of, I'm trying to put this politely, not use a dirty word, but it's whoring yourself to sell merchandise. I'm telling you, I've sold over 10,000 CDs and DVDs. Now I'm selling books. It's the best thing to have something to sell. When you have a great show, people want to buy anything from you. They'll buy like T-shirts or a coffee mug or a book or a CD and DVD. Have something to sell, and make sure that every single person at your shows gets a business card. It's so important, because instead of having to go, oh, was he Chinese and Pakistani? What was that guy? How do I find him? No, you want to hand them a business card. I always ask people where they heard about me. And they say, oh, well, you handed me your card 7 years ago when my son was at your show for the Pakistani Student Association, which got me booked on a show of tour of Pakistan. I told these young ladies, who are the singers I told you about, I said, you've got to get business cards and make sure that every person who comes to your show gets one, right? So if they want to book you or follow you or buy your merch, whatever, everybody at your show should get a card, everyone. I hope you do the same when you're speaking.
I have that for the table, the new Fry Your Chickens book.
And, great, BOR, right? Back of the room, they call it.
Back of the room, yes.
BOR, yep.
And did I give you one of my rubber chicken business cards in Washington, D.C.? I don't remember. So,
I don't think so.
okay, so this guy doesn't have the QR code on him yet, but that's
Okay, you need to have that. You've got to have that.
QR code on. Well, that's what I can hand out. This, I need to make more. But
Okay,
the QR code takes you to my website right there.
fantastic.
So tossing them out in the audience, and people come by. It's like, here, have one. So
Exactly, exactly. If something with how people get a hold of you, I have one on mine, and I told the twins they've got to have one on theirs as well. You've got to have that Q. It's so funny what happened with QR codes when they first came out. Nobody was using them, and then because of COVID and food menus at restaurants, now everyone knows what they are. Everyone uses them.
yep, yeah. I got a closet right outside the office that has boxes of rubber chickens, and I have an old label printer that prints QR codes. And so,
Great, that's fantastic.
yeah, which recently I put on LinkedIn about the time I reached in. I told a lady I wanted to hear more about her story. Reached in before the rubber chickens and pulled out what I thought was a business card. It turned out to be my hotel room key. And I said, I want to hear more about your story. And then I looked and was like, but not like that, right? And so a friend of mine, he's actually a good friend of mine, looked at me and goes, did you just offer her your room key? Now, when I pull this out, there's no mistaking. Nobody.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully that bunch of them fit in your suitcase.
I do. Well, and that's the thing. I always, because you saw this guy, I think, in DC.
Uh-huh.
So I always have to have a large check suitcase, and it's full of rubber chickens and big rubber chickens.
Wonderful, wonderful.
But I want to close it on you, Dan. Thank you so much for being on here. I love your story. I'm glad we got to catch up, and
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and again, early on, and I know for sure you're going to have hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of podcasts to come. So congratulations on everything you've accomplished, and it's a great motivational story, and I'm sure it's going to inspire many people.
hey, it's Phil. Like today's show? Well, you'll clucking love my Fry Your Chickens newsletter on LinkedIn and Substack. Links are in the notes.